What is up, guys? This is Migo Tech coming from you live from San Francisco. I recently moved here. It's been a pretty big adjustment for me. I lived here previously for 2 years, and yeah, I think it's good to be back, and we'll see how it goes. But on to the story, which is how I ended up missing out on $9 million. When I was a university grad, I studied CS at Northwestern University in the Chicago area. I ended up moving to work for a startup, and I worked there doing full stack web development for about 3 months. But during that time, I felt that it was a contract role, so it wasn't like very well defined what I would be doing, and I wanted to work in Silicon Valley in San Francisco, where I currently am. And so I decided, okay, let's move there and then I'll find a job. So I ended up booking a ticket to it with my best friend, and we just found a sublet place with just 2 beds. And that was it. That was our place that we were staying at, where I was doing interview prep, where I was getting ready to try to, make it into these companies. And he was a software engineer at Google, so he would take the bus and go to South Bay and work. For me, I was just studying every day, like hours and hours of leak code problems. I was like, I want to get into these top tech companies. I want to go to these great startups and stuff. And that was really my dream at the time. Yeah, I was just constantly hammering out these problems. I did like 4 problems on leak code pretty much every day. I would spend about 4 or 5 hours just studying. I think it really helped me when it came down to the interviews. I remember the first interview that I had in San Francisco. I just went into this interview for PlanGrid, which is like a construction startup. They wanted me to do iOS. So the first interview went really well until they asked me iOS questions, because I hadn't done iOS in like a year. So I didn't know like anything. So it was really embarrassing, and then they pretty much didn't move on with me at all. They actually kicked me out halfway through my interviews. So halfway through my on-site, they were like, okay, we're just gonna escort you out. So I knew right then, I was like, okay, I need to really get my game up. So after that, I studied even harder. I just tried every day to, keep improving, keep doing these leak code problems, keep figuring out what's the best way to do it, system design, iOS programming questions, as well as full stack web development. I got reached out by a friend who actually referred me to Facebook. So I ended up interviewing at Facebook. I did the phone screen. It went really well, and they moved on to an on-site. And on the on-site, the interviews seemed to go pretty well, except for the last one that I felt a little hairy about. But I remember just feeling like wasn't sure if this was going to be the company that I would be able to get an offer from, because this is like, the top of the tech tier companies and stuff, and people really care about it. So I came back, and I eventually heard the news that Facebook had extended me an offer, and I was like, wow, this was amazing. But at the same time, I was still interviewing with other companies. So I interviewed at Amazon, Google, and then I interviewed for a startup called DoorDash. This was a much smaller company, and it was in San Francisco, and it was focused on food delivery. So delivering food from restaurants to people. At the time, I wasn't so happy about the idea of working there, because I was like, okay, there's Uber Eats, there's Caviar, there's Postmates, there's a ton of competitors. So how is DoorDash gonna survive? I did the phone screen, I did well on it, I moved to the on-site, and I swear everyone there was super talented, super smart. Just a bunch of Stanford dropouts, really, and former Facebook people, Google people, and it really blew my mind just how talented the people were. When it came down to it, I got an offer from DoorDash, and these were the 2 companies I was considering. There were a couple other companies that I had offers from, like Hipmunk, ThoughtSpot, Amazon, but I decided that it was either going to be Facebook or DoorDash, because the people there were both impressive. The Facebook valuation was a base salary of $105,000, a equity of $100,000 over 4 years, and a signing bonus of $50,000. First year compensation would be like almost $190,000, like something like that, which is pretty good. And then DoorDash, they were offering me similarly like $110,000 salary, $144,000 stock over 4 years. So that's also like pretty good. It was like 160, 170K, maybe like actually about 180K, but it wasn't a public company. So I was like, I don't know how to value these shares. I talked with people, I tried to figure out what is the best one, and it was really hard. My gut told me that maybe DoorDash would be really successful, because the people there were super smart, because the company was growing super quickly and it seemed like it could be a big thing, but I just felt with so many competitors and other people were telling me, oh, you know, Facebook is more stable, it's definitely going to be more learning opportunities, it's like a better place to grow in your career. I was like, okay. And I decided to take Facebook. Facebook stock has 3x, I think, since I joined. So I made out with some decent amount of money. But DoorDash's stock has around 70x because it was valued at 970 million at the time that I'd received the offer. So right now, that would be worth $9 million. It's like a life lesson. I think from that I've learned that you can't just, you have to sometimes follow your gut, and you also have to see like where are smart people going to, because those are the companies that are going to define the future. And I really want you guys to take a lesson from this is, what can I do to find the next $9 million company or $9 million, you know, $9 million of salary that you would get, or the next $70 billion company. And I think to do that, you have to be willing to take risks for one. You can't be too comfortable. You have to see where all the smart people are going, because the smartest people will often be working on the most interesting projects where there's the most potential. Yeah, sometimes you also just have to be lucky. You know, DoorDash definitely did really well because of the pandemic, and who knows if they would have done as well before. But the truth of the matter is that life moves on. So maybe 9 million, I would be a multi-millionaire at this point. I'm not too sad about my life right now. So yeah, that's my story. I hope you guys liked it. And please let me know if you have any other startup stories. I'd love to hear from other people that maybe missed out on the $1 million startup that they could have joined or whatever. Thank you guys so much for listening. Please leave a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.